Hi there. In 1 Kings 18, we read about another leader, another opportunity for God to declare who he was. This time it's Elijah, and it's the story of what happened whenever God was a very unpopular God. There was nobody around who really followed him or believed him to be God of gods and King of kings. There were plenty of other prophets of other gods, pretend gods, who thought that their God was more powerful and there's going to be a big showdown. There was an altar that had water poured over it, and Elijah prayed and asked God that he would declare his power by setting fire to this dampened altar. And of course, all the other prophets of the false gods, of the pretend gods, were laughing at Elijah. And yet, Elijah, when he prayed and believed God, well, God showed up in power. And he was able to set on fire that very wet and damp altar. I can just imagine the tension. I can imagine the stress of Elijah as he prayed, God, are you going to do this? Am I going to be really, really left feeling silly? Or God, will you show up? I know Elijah would have thought that you are all powerful, but sometimes it seems that you don't want to show that power. Well, the story ended well in that Elijah's God, Yahweh, the one and only true God, did show up in his power. I suppose today, I feel sometimes that as Christians, we ask the same question. God, I know that you're all powerful. I know and I believe that you are God of gods, King of kings, and that you are the most powerful God that exists in the midst of all sorts of fake gods. But sometimes, God, if I'm honest, there are other things that I trust in rather than you. And just in case you think I've turned into a heretic, let me explain what I mean. And I think you'll identify with it. Whenever we look for something to happen, um, we could say, please God, let it be your will. Or we could say, touch wood. You may say it yourself, or you've may seen other people do it. You could say, Lord, I know that you give me security. There's nothing that I lack. I pray the Lord's Prayer and I pray that you'll provide for my every need. But Lord, I'm so worried because I don't have the wherewithal. For us as a family, we are having to deal with the honesty of those kind of thoughts, and that how many years have I still to go before I retire? And I need to think about a home to provide for my wife and my family and myself. But the worry sometimes of trying to work out where is that going to come from. And yes, I want to trust God and I do trust him, but I also would feel better if I could see some evidence that he is involved. And I suppose that's a natural feeling. And I guess isn't that the question of faith, about growing faith? It doesn't just drop on our lap, but the more times that we trust God in the middle of a situation, then the more our faith grows. Because God, he has promised never to leave us or forsake us, or to never ask us to cope with more than we can cope with. Elijah certainly had to exercise faith and courage and action, but it's really God who is the one that's all powerful, isn't it? He is the one that we ask to show up. Our role is just to allow him and invite him in to do that. So the fire altar is a reminder to us that God is really powerful, and we can't trust him. But sometimes that takes courage and a real act or conscious decision in providing him a space, a place for him to be God. See you tomorrow.